Today we're going to talk about chickens and more specifically chicken lights. And so whether that is to extend your days in the winter so that they lay more or heat lamps, today I'm going to show you some tricks, tips, hacks, whatever you want to say. I got some cool gadgets that are not very expensive that will help you with your chickens. So stick around. I'm going to go through all these things. It will not be a long video, but this will help you with your layers in the winter. Stick around. Well, thanks for joining us. I'm Jared from Strongroots Farm. Today, as we talk about tricks, tips, hacks for your chickens in the winter, I want you to first understand what's going on before we get into these high-tech things. The first thing is that chickens in the winter will go through a natural molt. And so they will go through this time period. They will drop down. It needs to happen, in my opinion, if you're going to raise your chickens naturally. But there are some things that you can do because they will drop off in the winter. The amount of egg production will drop off. There are some things you can do to minimize this. So let's go through a few things that are not light related first. The first thing you can do is help to give them a little more protein. And so you do not have to change feeds for the winter. If you have a feed that works well for you, you can continue to maintain this, but you can also supplement with other things. And so what we do here on our farm, it's a good time for us to use our butchered animals offal. And what I mean by that is the hearts, the livers, the tongues, those kind of things. We will boil these things, chop them up or have them ground, and give the chickens a small portion of this per day. It's also time of the year that we will transfer from giving our table scraps to our pigs. We will give those to our chickens. They'll get sugary things, and they're also going to get a little higher protein. And so that will help your chickens to lay a little better. The best thing for chickens in the winter is dairy waste. And so if you have a milk cow, you already know, but you're going to give them dairy waste. If you have a local dairy farm and you can get whey or curdled milk, cottage cheese leftovers, whatever it would be, dairy waste is a great thing to give your chickens, especially in the winter. The other thing you can do is help to minimize or manage their temperature. And you can do this by having them in a different coop in the winter with deep bedding. You can wrap plastic around your chicken tractor to make it like a greenhouse effect. And it will also keep the weather and wind off of them. So in the winter, when the moisture level is higher in the air and the wind blows, these chickens get colder, and so they will burn more energy to stay warm. Therefore, they will also produce less eggs because of that. The energy will not go into the egg. So if you can do things to help them stay warmer, that will also help you. Let's get to some gadgets and talk about light. So one reason chickens don't produce well is because the amount of daylight. Our days are shorter, so you can put a light on them and extend the amount of daylight essentially for them, and it will help them to produce more eggs. I am going to give you a naturalist point of view warning though. By extending their days, you're putting them into a production where nature tells them they should relax a little in the winter. You're putting them into a higher production that will shorten their production of their life. So typically chickens will go 2.5 to 3 years of egg laying on a natural cycle, and then they will start to die off after that. Putting them on a light, you'll get more production out of them during that winter, but you will start that cycle downward earlier. So maybe at 2 years old, or as they've been laying for 2 years, that cycle will stop to drop if you put them on a light. You should not. It is harmful for them, and this is just my experience, to put them on a light full time. Do not have a light in their coop all the time because they do need downtime. They do need darkness. Don't take the, atmosphere of the sun away from them. So day and night, they need that cycle a little bit, but you can put it on a timer, which is going to be our first tech trick, and give them an extra 2 hours to 3 hours a day will help them. Let's look at this. So the first trick is to buy a simple timer. And so this thing pops open. It has like a spring-loaded system in it, and this goes around like a clock. You set these, you push the buttons down for the hours of the day that you want this power to run, and then you hook this extension cord up to a light bulb. or anything really that will produce a light. And the timer will set it off and the light comes on. Pretty simple. This is good. I like, if I'm going to use a timer, I like to have this light come on an hour before dark, or like in the dusk setting like we are right now as the sun starts to go down. It does two things. One, it allows them to know where the coop door is because the light will shine out that. It will help them in the winter because they're triggered to go in earlier because of the dark. It will help them to maintain that. And if you have an automatic door like we do, it doesn't let them get stuck out in the cold when they're up in their coop house. So that's why I do it. But you can set that for 2 to 3 hours and it will go off. But that requires power. So I have an option for you that does not require power. We're up here in the loft of my shop, but I have an extra one of these. So you can buy a solar light bulb like this. This came from Amazon. I'll try to find the link and put that down in the description. But I did an entire video, and I'll put that down in the description as well, on solar lights. And so I have 5 or 6 different types of solar lights here on the farm. This is the one I use for my chickens. And so if you don't have power, if you're off the grid, if your chickens are out away from power and you don't want to run a cord, this is a good option. I will show you the actual light. Let's go look at that and show you what I do. So we're actually in here in the hog barn with the pigs, but this is the same light that I have out in the chicken coop. And you can see it has a little black cord. Well, maybe you can see. And it goes outside the barn. And there's a little solar panel about the size of your cell phone, actually. And it sits out there, so you can put that on the top of your chicken coop or on the side wall facing south of your chicken coop if it's stationary. And this light hangs in there, runs completely off of solar. The battery is actually inside this bulb unit, and it has a remote. And so I buy some of the Velcro stuff for my chicken coop, and I just stick that up high on the ceiling where they can't get to it, and then I have the remote. This thing is kind of nice, and I don't know how well you can see it here, but it has a 3-hour, a 5-hour, and an 8-hour setting. And so this is the negative with this, is that you have to turn it on every day. What we do is we collect eggs every day, typically in the evening after school when the kids go do it, and they'll hit this 5-hour button. So they'll come home from school at 3, they'll go out there, they'll collect the eggs, they need the light to get up in the coop, so they hit the 5-hour button, it comes on, and what that does is it runs for 5 hours and then auto shuts off. And then during the day, it charges again when there's sunlight out, and then it works every night. This is a nice thing to have. It's cheap, it's not too expensive, it works. This has been up here for 2 years, so we've had good luck with these. Just the negative that you do have to hit the button, so if you're gone and you didn't collect eggs, they're not gonna get that night. But it's a very nice thing and it has a nice remote. The next gadget we have is also in our pig barn, and we also have one with our chickens. I own 2 of these. This is a BN Link thermostat controlled controller. And so this is gonna be more for your heat lamp. So if you're worried about your chickens getting cold, you can plug this into electricity, set the temperature but when it falls below this temperature, it turns the power on. It can be used for a regular light too, but you would have to go and follow your forecast. It's kind of annoying. Whereas with a heat lamp, you can say below 35, kick this heat lamp on in my coop just to give them a little extra heat, which will help them produce more eggs. It also gives them a little bit of light, but it's a red light, so it doesn't bother them. And then it sets, and when it falls below, it stays on. And when it goes above 35, I have mine set for a 2-degree variation, which means if it kicks on at 35, it then has to climb above 37 to turn it off. And then it'll kick back on again when it falls below 35. These are fairly inexpensive. It was also in my solar video, and so you can look at that. But I will put the link to this if I can find it. These are probably 4 years old that we bought off of Amazon as well. These work very well, especially for a heat lamp. The last item we have is a smart dot or some kind of a smart outlet. So if you want to be high-tech redneck and get hooked to your Wi-Fi and use power and you have the ability to do all that things, you can use something like this. You can connect your phone to these through the Wi-Fi. It will charge an outlet, and then you can turn that light on or off, the heat lamp on or off, however you want to, from the comfort of your living room, from your iPhone or your Android if you're into that. all from the Wi-Fi. So this is pretty rare when people have chickens out, especially off the grid or whatever. But if you're in a situation where your chicken coop is right next to your house and you have Wi-Fi, this is a cool idea. Well, there you have it. Some cheap and easy things that you can do to help your chickens lay better, to extend the daylight hours if you're looking to do that. We don't do that a whole lot, just mainly to keep them warm. So that light a couple nights a week when my kids are collecting eggs, they'll turn that timer solar light on. But most of the time, we only have the heat lamp going for our chickens. But it is a way that you can increase the comfort of your chickens and increase their egg production. Hope this video helps you. Please like and subscribe, follow along with us. We appreciate you watching.